These next 48 hours are going to tell a lot about how the rest of this Detroit Lions season is going to play out. Brad Holmes has some very tough decisions to make in the next 48 hours. We are back. I told you in the last video, potentially the next video you would see from me, we will be back. And the Lions Live Wire Christmas is now back. Probably started a little bit earlier than last year. I can't exactly remember. But anyway, we're back. And let's go ahead and go over the game like we always do. Now, this was a huge game. And I'm a little bit mad I didn't make a preview video. I didn't get around to it. But everybody, it seemed like to me, most Lions fans were just throwing this game out the water, calling it an easy win. We're going to beat the Vikings so bad that they're not even going to focus on this game at all. They're going to focus on the rest of their season and trying to get a quarterback and stuff like that. And they're going past McCarthy. They don't think McCarthy's going to do anything in this game. And I had a feeling in the back of my head that this game, still thought we were going to win, but in the back of my head, I'm like, man, we need to stop doing this. It's the division rival. Division games are always close, but also at the same time, they have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. I mean, there's no denying that. You look at that team as a whole, it's one of the most talented. It's just their quarterback situation and them as a collective unit not playing their best football this year. But as a singular position, looking around at every single position, every single player, they have one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. And then we're getting players back this game like Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, both their starting tackles, and Andrew Van Ginkel. They were getting lots of players back this game that were key assets to that team. So I was not overlooking this game at all whatsoever, and and yeah, I don't think we should have been either. But from what I saw on Twitter and everything else like that, we were just ridiculously overly confident. Starting with Jared Goff. Goff's statistical stats here are very good. 25 for 37, that's 284 and 2 touchdowns. He did not play a good game today. Again, you got to watch the film. He did not play a good day today. Lots of bad incompletions where he just flat out missed targets. He had a couple of drops from the receivers in there as well. One from Saint and one from J-Mo. I can't remember if there was any other ones. So he probably would have been at 300 passing yards on the day if those connected. And then he almost had another touchdown that was caught by St. Brown that was 1 yard short. So, I mean, even if you include those in there, and he would have been over 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns and a higher completion percentage, obviously, the guy still did not play a great game today. He was not bad by any means. He was definitely not, our main problem today, but he did not play a great game. I mean, he played fine today, but he was struggling with the pressure, and you can tell while watching the game. You can 100% tell the rushing game was absolutely dreadful. 40 yards, 3.6 yards a carry, and a touchdown for Montgomery. He's been so weird this year, man. He's had a couple games where he's been really good, and there's a lot of games where he's been really bad. He's not had a great year so far. Gibbs was shut down for one of the few times this year. 2.8 yards a carry on 9 for 25. St. Brown played very well besides the one drop that he had that would have been, I think, like a 15-yard completion. So besides that, he had 9 receptions for 97 yards. And again, he was 1 yard short on one of those receptions from getting a touchdown. Sam Laporta had arguably his best day of the season, 6 for 97 and 1 touchdown. He gets his National Tight Ends Week, even though it was last week. He gets a belated one, putting on a heck of a performance in this game. Jamison Williams, John Morton said in his press conference over the bye week that he wanted to get Jamison Williams more involved and that he had failed him up to this point, which, okay, you're saying that to, I guess, give J-Mo confidence, but at the same time, it's like you're not failing the guy. You just got so much weapons on this team. It's like, how can you get everybody the ball and everything, like that. Jamison Williams has not been bad this year. He just hasn't been getting targets, which, I mean, is part of it because he can't get open, but also just because, again, stuff is not drawn up for him like it should be, or just because it's not drawn up because of how our offense is. But that I didn't really understand, but we did get Jamison Williams a little bit, try to get him a little bit more involved today. He did. He ended up coming with a huge reception in the game. By this time, it was too late to come back and try to win the game. We were down by 10. He caught a 37-yard touchdown pass from Goff that was a little bit behind and a little bit early from Goff, but he was able to adjust to make the catch and get some yak yards to make a touchdown and make it a 3-point game and give us self a little bit of a chance at least. So that was a nice play by Jamison Williams, but he also had a drop in there today. it was a fine day, but Jameis Winston was one of his better performances on the season when it comes to statistical. Brock Wright, 1 for 11. Dave Montgomery, 2 for 10. Gibbs, 3 for 3. And Cleve Raymond had 1 target, no catches. Isaac TeSlaa was not really seen much in the game today on the offensive side of the ball, except when St. Brown was out a couple plays when he got down. I think he had a lower leg injury, but I think it might have just been cramping. Defensive side of the ball was not great today either. And you look at the box score right here. In the stats here, they don't look bad. Jack Campbell, 1 sack. Derek Barnes, 1 sack. Aiden Hutchinson, 1 sack. Muhammad, 1 sack. Tyler Lacey, 1 sack. And Terrion Arnold getting his first career interception. Congrats to Terrion Arnold. Played pretty decent, I would say, in today's game. Obviously, just watching it off the get-go, I got to watch the film, but I thought he played a pretty decent game today, and it was a really nice interception that he had. Thomas Harper also had an interception, but was taken away from him from an illegal contact on Amik Robertson. As he was starting today for the injured Kirby Joseph. Avonte Maddox was active. I was expecting Avonte Maddox to get the start at safety over Thomas Harper to fill in for Kirby Joseph, but Thomas Harper ended up getting the start, which surprised me, and I thought he held his own again. Thomas Harper's a pretty good backup safety, man. I think he's got potential to end up turning in to a very decent depth safety for us long term if he sticks around, because I'm pretty sure he'll be restricted exclusive rights free agent. I don't know why I couldn't think of that for a minute, but I believe he's an exclusive rights free agent after this year, so he'll be brought back for the veteran minimum. But I really don't know where Tyler Lacey's sack came from. I'm not gonna lie. I know he made a nice tackle drawing McCarthy to the sideline, but McCarthy was able to get a yard, cross the line of scrimmage. So I don't know if that's an error here by Google and they just accidentally gave him a sack. But it also says on ESPN Lacey got a sack, so I don't really know where that came from. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And I don't know where Muhammad's sack came from. The only one that I can kind of have a conclusion where it came from is when I think it might have been Derek Barnes or Jack Campbell. I think it was Jack Campbell got to McCarthy again, but McCarthy was able to stick on his feet until he fell kind of where he ended up falling to the ground, and then Muhammad touched him to officially have him be down, but I thought Jack Campbell made enough contact with McCarthy for him to fall that I thought Campbell was going to end up resulting in the sack, but I guess they gave it to Muhammad. And then Barnes, I thought should have had 2, but apparently I guess they gave that sack to Tyrell Lacey for some reason instead. So overall, not a bad day by the Lions statistical unit. Hutchinson had a pretty decent day today. It was quiet in the second half, but he had a good first half, getting quite a bit of pressures. I don't know how many he had on the day, but he had a really good first half, cooled down second half. Sailors was fine on the kick return game. He did every single one for 28.3 yards per kick return. Khalif Raymond was fine on punt returns. Jack Fox was all right on punts, and Bates had 1 field goal block that really sealed the game for the Vikings. And he made every single extra point. On the Vikings side of the ball, they're not, on offensive side of the ball, nothing spectacular. J.J. McCarthy played a lot better than his box score says. I mean, you watch the film, he really, really did. This is his 3rd game in his NFL career, essentially a rookie because he missed all last year with the season-ending injury. And he comes back, plays his 3rd game here, and he played very well. Like I said, the stats don't show it. 14 for 25, 143, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, and really 2 interceptions because 1 got called back. But he did not play bad by any means. He was connecting with a lot of targets, making a couple really nice throws. Now, he did miss a couple targets. He was very high on a pass to Justin Jefferson that should have resulted in one of the most easiest 5-yard completions you'll ever see, but instead he overthrew him. And there was a couple times where he just didn't make the right decisions, or he didn't see guys that were open. But J.J. McCarthy, overall, I thought he had a very nice game, and I think the Vikings potentially do have a bright future with McCarthy. And apparently we were very interested in McCarthy in the draft process, which is surprising to me. So I guess the Lions were looking to draft J.J. McCarthy. If he somehow fell to the second round or fell late in the first round, maybe they were planning to trade up or something and get McCarthy. But Dan Campbell said they did a lot of homework on McCarthy, which usually when they say something about a player like that. They view that player very highly. So there possibly was a chance last year that we would have took JJ McCarthy. There really was. So, but McCarthy, he overall I thought played very decent on the day. Aaron Jones is his second game back from his hamstring injury. Played very well, but then he ended up getting hurt later in the game. I think it was in the third quarter. I don't know what the severity of the injury is as of right now. He had 9 for 78. He was very effective on the ground. Looked like his old Aaron Jones self with the Packers. Jordan Mason, he's not been great for the Vikings this year. He's been fine, but he hasn't looked like what he did with the Niners last year. 10 for 36, 3.6. He's not very he doesn't look as explosive this year as he did with the Niners last year, and it just looks like he can't really find the holes, which could obviously be due to the offensive line, but that he was able to find last year with the Niners. Jordan Addison had a jet sweep for 1 for 16. J.J. McCarthy took off quite a bit, taking off 9 for 12 and 1 touchdown on the rushing game. That was a very nice scramble. Jordan Addison, their leading receiver, was 48 yards, and we lost them by a considerable margin. Like, that's just ridiculous. Jordan Addison, 2 for 48. Jettis, 6 for 47 and 1 touchdown. His touchdown grab was really nice. Aaron Jones, 2 for 20. Jalen Naylor had the game-sealing catch for a first down on 3rd and 5. That was his only catch on the day, going 1 for 16. Hawkinson, 2 for 11 and 1 touchdown. And Jordan Mason, 1 through 1 throughout the air. Eric Wilson, the linebacker, had 2 sacks. Javon Hargrave, one of my favorite defensive tackles in the NFL, getting a sack. He's been quiet the Vikings this year, but was able to get a sack in this game. Andrew Van Ginkel returned, and he had a really nice move on Panay Sewell earlier in the game. But besides that, I thought he was pretty quiet. I don't think they played him that much either this game. I think they were just trying to get him involved a little bit. Levi Drake Rodriguez ended up getting his first career sack. Jalen Redmond, who's one of the most underrated interior defensive linemen in the league, ended up getting a sack. I believe that's his 4th of the year. And they did not pick off Jared Goff. So they got to Jared Goff 5 times as well, but it felt like a lot more than that because our offensive line was absolutely horrendous. Horrendous this game. After seeing the performance our offensive line put up in this game, it makes me really speculate if now we need to target an offensive lineman at the trade deadline. The trade deadline is in 48 hours from now. You really got to consider it because Dan Campbell in his post-game press conference said that Christian Mahogany, who got hurt in one of the last drives of the game, is going to be out a long time. He's going to be out a while. Now, Dan Campbell said he does not believe it is season ending, but he said it's probably going to be late December. Late December at the earliest by the time he's back, so almost a full 2 months that Christian Mahogany is going to be out. So he probably will not be back, from what Dan Campbell said, until either week 17, week 18, or the playoffs. So Christian Mahogany could be out the whole entire season. I don't think he will, from what Dan Campbell said, but he's going to be out for most likely 90% of the remaining games on the season. So that hurts. The Lions have to now figure out what to do at the offensive line position when it comes to interior. Our offensive line just got beat up this game. Every starting player on offensive line this game got hurt, besides Graham Glasgow. Literally every single player. Panay Sewell was dealing with 2 different injuries, was dealing with an eye injury and then I think a shoulder injury. Took him out for a couple of plays, but then he was able to come back in, and he should be all good, but we'll see. Ratledge, I think he got hurt also with the shoulder injury. He was able to come back in, and he should be good. And then Decker, I think he hurt his ankle. He got rolled up on, I think, by Javon Hargrave, and he was able to return, but he's obviously still dealing with, I think it's his shoulder injury. So our offensive line is beat up right now, man, and now with Mahogany, he also got rolled up on, and it looked very similar to Hutch's injury from last year, just not to the extent that Hutch's was last year. That could lead to, obviously, Mahogany returning, but it's insane. So now what do you do if you're the Lions? I don't know who's out there for offensive line. I haven't even really considered taking a look at offensive line targets who could be available at the trade deadline. Do you go after a tackle? Do you go after a guard? I'm assuming you would go after a guard, but maybe you go after a tackle. If you kind of want Decker to sit multiple weeks, maybe you go after a tackle. that can play guard if needed. So then once Decker is able to come back later in the year, hopefully fully healthy, you can move that tackle that you pick up and move him to guard or something like that to fill in for Mahogany. But if you don't trade for an offensive lineman, I'm assuming Cologne would become your new starting center and Glasgow would move to guard, or Coyote Awosika will become your new starting guard. Wow. Obviously, Glasgow would remain at center. So that would probably be one of the two options. Dan Campbell also brought up Michael Neese on the vet squad, which is the practice squad. If we have to play Michael Neese as a starting position, I'm going to lose my mind. He is one of the worst interior offensive linemen I have seen on the Detroit Lions in quite some time. He's not good in pass protection. In the run game, he's a little bit better, but he's undersized, severely undersized. I think he's our most undersized offensive lineman. It's him or Kingsley, one of the two. He doesn't have much power to his game at all. You put a move on him, you're gonna get past him. I've not been a Michael Neese fan. I haven't. The only good thing about him is he can play center and guard. That's the only good thing about him. But the fact that he brought up him is a little bit concerning because that makes me think that they have confidence in him if he ever has to play game for us, which I don't like. Player that he did not mention was Kingsley, which is interesting to me. So it probably means that Kingsley will not get any playing time this season, which means that Glasgow will remain at center is kind of what I got from that. But rest of this, Ryan Wright, their punter, 44 yards, not great day for him. Had a bad punt in the back of the end zone that only went like 40 yards. Will Reichard went 100% with a 50-yard field goal in there and made every single one of his extra points. Miles Price was phenomenal on kick returns. He had a 99-yard kick return touchdown that was called back by Tavier Thomas, their veteran cornerback, having a holding penalty. I believe it was around the 30-yard line that ended up having it be called back. I mean, just on all three phases, sides of the ball, we just got destroyed in this game. We really, really did. I mean, we deserved to lose this game 100%. I mean, the score doesn't even justify it, dude. We really lost. Our defense really didn't play that bad. It didn't play good, but I would say it played about average, maybe slightly below average. But our offense was so dreadful, and so was special teams. And again, you can't really give the defense much credit either. They did not play great either by any means. But the score really should have been 27-17 or 20, somewhere around there, 27-20, somewhere around there. It was a lot more close than what it should have been. The Vikings absolutely destroyed us. Under the team stats, again, it was very close. I mean, like, we outperformed them. We really did. 258 pass total yards for the Vikings, 305 for the Lions. That is so low for both sides. Passing yards 116 for the Vikings, 240 for the Lions. Rushing yards 142 for the Vikings, 65 for the Lions. Yards per play 4.4 for the Vikings, 4.9 for the Lions. 20 first downs for the Vikings, 15 for the Lions. 4 for 12 on third down efficiency for the Vikings, 5 for 17 for the Lions. That is absolutely dreadful. The Vikings did not attempt a fourth down. We attempted 3 and got every single one. Total plays 59 for the Vikings, 62 for the Lions. Sacks allowed 5 and 5 each. Punts 4 for the Vikings, 5 for the Lions. Penalty yardage 7 for 56 for the Vikings and 10 for 76 for the Lions. That is ridiculous. Fumbles lost 0 for the Vikings, 1 on the Lions, and that was by Dave Montgomery. Interceptions thrown 1 for the Vikings and 0 for the Lions. In time possession, 28 minutes and 52 seconds for the Vikings and 31 minutes and 8 seconds for the Detroit Lions. So we really had higher statistical team stats than the Vikings on every single stat there. I mean, we really, really did, and we just could not play well today, man. We just could not, and this was a big game. Trade deadline coming up at 48 hours. It sparks a lot of questions. Now I think the Lions have to consider taking a look at the offensive line market in the trade market. Again, I don't know who is out there, but I definitely think they're going to have to start taking a look now. It's just that this was a rough game. We'll go ahead and go over all the roster moves that were made from this past week, which weren't really any whatsoever. We only made 2 roster moves. We only made 1 elevation this week, and we elevated Ty Summers. And then the only actual roster move we made this week was that we released cornerback Kendall Fuller from the practice squad, which is beyond me. I was shocked when we released him, so he was on the team for barely over a week. I don't even know if he was on the team for a week, maybe 6 days, somewhere around there, to not play a game with us. So his time as a Detroit Lion has come to an end. I don't understand that whatsoever. I'm not gonna lie. The guy can still be a starting cornerback in the NFL and can at minimum be a cornerback 3, which is still a starting cornerback. I don't understand it. You don't got a lot of veterans back there anyway in the cornerback room besides Maddox and Yasin. A lot of those guys are young. You do have Mullet, so I take that back a little bit. You got a little bit more than I thought, but it's just as a reliable option who's played well throughout their career. I don't really understand this release. Yeah, I'm not saying he had to play, but at least have an option on your roster. I don't. Maybe he asked for his release because he wanted to get playing time, and maybe just didn't feel like he was going to get playing time with the Lions from how they played against the Bucks. I don't really know, but Kendall Fuller is no longer a Detroit Lion after maybe a week on the team. And I don't like that move at all. And then earlier this week, I'm disappointed in myself that I did not get around to it. But obviously, you've all heard about it. I'm just going to run through this. Tom Paracero, massive deal. The Lions are signing Aiden Hutchinson to a 4-year, $180 million extension with $141 guaranteed, the most guaranteed money ever by a non-quarterback. A mega deal for Hutchinson, which now has a superstar locked up through 2030. We picked up his fifth-year option, so he's really under contract for 5 more years after this year of his contract. And then I'm assuming we'll give another extension if everything goes well by the end of that new extension. So Hutchinson locked up long term. I love the move. It's his base salary is slightly less than Micah Parsons. I think it's like 1.5 million less than Micah Parsons, but he has more guaranteed money than Micah Parsons in his contract. So he really is the most highest paid now defensive end in the NFL currently in NFL history. So Aiden Hutchinson, congrats, man. Now the decisions start coming in on Branch Laporta, Gibbs, and Campbell, and Robertson as well. I always like to include Robertson in there. He's going to get a pretty decent deal wherever he goes. So Lions got some tough decisions to make with the contracts. But back to the Lions and Vikings game here. And I'll give my thoughts, a couple, like 2 minutes of thoughts on the trade deadline, and then this video will be over. But this is a tough game to lose for the Lions. I did not expect to lose this game. Like I said, I thought a lot of people were being too overconfident. I was not being confident whatsoever in this game. And the Vikings are just too talented of a roster to not hold their own, I felt like, against us. And we've always struggled in years past coming off of a bye week. Last year was the first year in quite some time that we did not struggle coming off of a bye week. But it looks like we go back to our old selves here as we struggled massively in this game against the Vikings. Lions now have lost 3 games on the season, more than they did all of last year throughout the regular season, and we're on pace to lose more games this year than we even did in 2023 in the regular season, where we lost 5. So we got some work to do. We got some work to do. Brad Holmes has got some decisions to make at the trade deadline. There are 3 guys. The Lions at the trade deadline, Dan Campbell said in a press conference earlier this week that he doesn't really expect the Lions to be active at the trade deadline, but he's not ruling anything out, and that Brad Holmes has brought up some names to him. That could just be coach talk. It really, really could be. I mean, maybe they have their eyes on somebody. Apparently, we have called the Cincinnati Bengals about Trey Hendrickson, which is huge to me. It really, really is. I mean, figuratively and literally, that it's huge to me because how good of a player Hendrickson is, but also the uh, the deal that we would have to give the Cincinnati Bengals for them to even consider it. So that was interesting to me. You also got some other big names on the market out there. Jalen Phillips is my guy that I'm really looking at. Jermaine Johnson could be available. I think they're seeking the 2nd-round pick, the Jets, for him. I'm not really looking at him per se, but I'm looking especially at Jalen Phillips and Trey Henderson. I don't think there's been any reports that we have called the Dolphins about Jalen Phillips to this point, but maybe those news just hasn't come out yet, so I'm not rolling that out. But we have called the Bengals about Trey Hendrickson. According to NFL rumors, I don't really go off of them anymore on Twitter. They sometimes put out legitimate information, but at the same time, and also like you really don't know because that information doesn't come out from many other sources, if any. But they said we have called the Bengals multiple times about Trey Hendrickson. So I really don't know. That would be a miracle. They fell today. The Chicago Bears were one of the craziest games I've ever seen. So we'll see there, but I'm looking at Jalen Phillips, and when it comes to secondary, we're reportedly looking at the secondary too, specifically a safety, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Um, so I really don't know who's available at the safety market because we just got the report a couple days ago. Corner, you got guys like Alontae Taylor, Cam Taylor, Britt that are out there. I'm sure there's a couple of other bigger names as well, Tariq Woolen, but it sounds like the Seahawks do not plan on moving him. So we'll see from that aspect. I will have a trade deadline video that will come out Monday or Tuesday, probably tomorrow earlier in the morning when you're seeing this, just in case if we do end up making a move tomorrow at some point. That way we could get it done before the trade deadline. But the trade deadline, I believe, is 3 o'clock East, or excuse me, 3 o'clock Central Time on Tuesday, November 4th. So in 2 days from now, a little over 48 hours from now. So we'll see what the Lions are able to do if they do anything. It was a big game today. They fell, and we got some tough decisions upcoming. We face the Commanders next week at 3:25 Eastern Standard, or excuse me, Central Time. So it's a big game next week. It's at Washington. Big game. It's a must win next week. It really, really is. The Lions have now lost 2 division games on the year as well. The only good news from this week is that the Packers lost. So we're still only a half a game back from Green Bay in the division, but the Bears and Vikings are creeping up. So one Pride Go Lions. I'll see you in the trade deadline video that should be coming out in the next 24 hours. And pray to God that we land Jalen Phillips. One Pride, Go Lions.